If you have already made up your mind to pull for CHISA and your S strat is ready, then the next thing you need is preparation for her character building. Don't worry, because in this Wuthering Waves video, I will give you everything you need to prepare as future CHISA mains, starting from a brief kit explanation, required materials, character building that includes echo sets, the best resonance chain, the best broadblade options, the best team compositions, and even CHISA's value for the future meta. Don't worry, for those of you who already understand her kit explanation, I will provide a timestamp so you can skip it. So enough yapping and let's get this video started. CHISA's limited 5-star Havoc character uses Broad Blade. She has around 10,000 base HP, 438 base attack, and roughly 1,100 defense. CHISA has 3 main combat roles: support and healer, resonance liberation damage dealer, and Havoc Bane. She can heal the entire team through several sequences of her basic attacks, as well as her ultimate. She also benefits greatly from resonance liberation amplification, since some of her basic attack strings and vorte attacks are counted as resonance liberation. So if you want her to contribute more damage, you should slot in resonance liberation damage bonus in her substats. CHISA also acts as dedicated support for teams that rely on negative statuses as their main source of damage, such as Frazzle and Erosion, because she can increase the stack count of these negative statuses and inflict a debuff that allows all incoming attacks to ignore 18% of the enemy's defense. To raise CHISA to her maximum character level, you will need roughly around 170k shell credits and several polygon cores, 4 LF, 12 MF, 12 HF, and 4 FF. For the flower materials you need to collect, CHISA requires 60 summer flowers, which can be found in Honami City. She also needs 48 abyssal husks obtained by defeating the Lady of the Sea. Meanwhile, for her talent materials, you will need 25 LF polygon cores, 25 MF, 40 HF, 57 FF, and around 2 million shell credits. Since she uses a broad blade, you can start farming waveform residue right now. She required around 25 green, 28 blue, 55 purple, and 67 yellow. For her weekly boss materials, she uses When Irises Bloom. She will need 26 of them, and you can obtain these by defeating Fleur-de-Lis or through the supply pack. Now let's talk about her basic attack. This is one of her healing sources. Once you perform Death Snip, the one shown with the scissor-like animation, CHISA will heal your entire team. She can trigger this on the ground, mid-air while performing punch attacks, and even through dodging. CHISA has 2 Forte bars, the Jetstream bar, which reveals automatically over time, and the Chainsaw Forte bar. When CHISA is in mid-air, she can pull enemies by pressing the dash button, which consumes half of the Jetstream Forte that has a total of 100 points. This Jetstream bar transforms into a timer when CHISA enters Chainsaw mode, meaning she has to keep attacking enemies, because if she stops, the bar will decrease and act as a countdown to end her Chainsaw mode. Meanwhile, the Chainsaw Forte can be filled simply by attacking enemies. Once it's full, hold the resonance skill to enter the Chainsaw mode. When she is in this mode, all you need to do is spam attacks until she performs her final strike. After this final hit, Chainsaw mode ends and CHISA will generate a shield. You can also activate her liberation before entering Chainsaw mode, because her ultimate not only provides burst healing for your team, but also increases some of her Chainsaw hit multipliers by 120%. CHISA also has a marking mechanic called Unseen Snare. She can inflict this mark on enemies using her resonance skill, her enhanced resonance skill that group enemies, her dodge counter, or simply by locking onto an enemy. When a marked enemy attacks damage, CHISA inflicts Havoc Bane, then reducing the enemy's defense. Unseen Snare is also required for CHISA to pull enemies during her special mid-air dash that consumes Jetstream Forte. This marking ability can be enhanced further through both of her inherent skills. After a Resonator defeats enemy marked with Unseen Snare, CHISA's skill cooldown will reset. Her second inherent skill gives CHISA a healing bonus and Havoc damage bonus after she uses her intro skill or ultimate. Additionally, when a Resonator with Threat of Bane defeats enemy inflicted with the mark, CHISA will inflict another Unseen Snare onto the enemy currently being attacked by that ally. Threat of Bane comes from her outro skill. CHISA grants a buff to the whole team that not only increases the maximum stack capacity of enemy negative statuses and Electro Rage by 3, but also applies the Threat of Bane effect. This effect allows any Resonator to ignore 18% of the enemy's defense whenever they inflict negative status or deal negative status damage. To level up her skills, keep in mind that you should prioritize her Forte first, because CHISA's highest damage comes from entering Chainsaw mode, and several of her Chainsaw attack multipliers scale significantly after activating her Liberation. Upgrading her Forte also strengthens the shield she provides. After Forte, you can max her Resonance Liberation, since this skill offers a strong burst heal. Next, upgrade her normal attack. Resonance skill is the lowest priority because you mainly use it for its crowd control effect, not its damage. The same goes for her intro skill. RC1 grants CHISA interruption immunity while she is in chainsaw mode. In addition, inflicting unseen snare will increase her attack, deal a fixed amount of havoc damage, and it can reduce enemies' HP down to a minimum of 61%. This effect can only trigger once per enemy. RC2 allows CHISA's attack to ignore 10% of the enemy's havoc res. After her outro, the entire team also gains 50% all attribute damage bonus. RC3 further increases the multipliers of Blitz and Eradication, and also boosts the vibration strength of her chainsaw attacks. RC4 causes enemies to automatically be inflicted with Havoc Bane whenever they take damage while marked with Unseen Snare. RC5 increases her Resonance Liberation damage by 100%, and her crowd control ability now costs 50% less Jetstream Forte. Finally, RC6 prevents CHISA from being defeated while in chainsaw attacks. If she takes a fatal blow, she will survive with 1% HP. After that, enemies afflicted with Unseen Snare will take 30% increased negative status damage and 40% increased damage from CHISA's attacks. From my personal perspective, if you want to invest vertically in CHISA, it's better not to stop at RC1. If possible, continue pulling until RC2 as this is her most valuable resonance chain. Not only it is still relatively affordable, but CHISA's personal damage increases significantly thanks to the Havoc Res Ignore. On top of that, she also provides additional benefit to the entire team, granting a 50% all attribute damage bonus when allies receive the trait of Bane buff from her outro skill. With this, CHISA is no longer just a support who provides debuffs, but a support who can also grant powerful buffs to all her teammates. For CHISA's best echo set, we are getting a brand new set, Threat of Severed Fate. When this user successfully inflicts Havoc Bane on enemy, they will gain 20% attack and 30% Resonance Liberation damage bonus for 5 seconds. This set is extremely suitable for CHISA because, as of now, she is the only character capable of inflicting Havoc Bane. However, farming this set conveniently and completing all 3 pieces won't be easy at launch. You can only obtain it through Nightmare Purification or by defeating the Trinodian Leviathan for the cost 4. Since this set only has 3 pieces, the remaining 2 cost slots can be filled with either 2-piece Eclipse or 2-piece Midnight Veil, both of which provide CHISA with 10% Havoc damage bonus. If you don't feel like farming the new set right away and want to test CHISA immediately on release, she can also use Rejuvenating Glow with Bellborn as the cost 4. This set increases your entire team's attack by 15% whenever CHISA heals. However, the downside is that CHISA's personal damage contribution will be noticeably lower, and this set might not be beneficial for Cartesia because she uses HP as her damage. CHISA will use a 4-3-3-1-1 formation. If you are using her signature weapon which provides crit rate, then it's recommended to use crit damage on the cost 4, and vice versa. I highly recommend using Reminiscent Trinodian as your cost 4 echo. When you activate a skill, it not only deals 2 instances of Havoc damage, but also grants Core of Collapse, which allows the active character to deal additional Havoc damage up to 8 times. This extra damage becomes even stronger if the enemy is already inflicted with Havoc Bane. Activating this echo also grants CHISA a 12% Havoc damage bonus and Liberation damage. For the 2 cost 3 slots, use Havoc damage bonus, and since CHISA scales with attack, both cost 1 slots should be attack percent. Make sure each slot has crit rate and crit damage, and CHISA will greatly appreciate additional Liberation damage bonus, since parts of her basic attack sequences and many of her Chainsaw Forte attacks count as Liberation damage. As a reference, the ideal crit stat line for CHISA when using her signature weapon is approximately 70% crit rate and 270% crit damage. CHISA's base Broadblade is, of course, her signature weapon. It has 500 base attack and provides additional 36% crit rate. The user also gains 12% attack. Then, whenever the wielder uses intro skill or inflicts a negative status on enemy, their Resonance Liberation damage increased by 8%, stacking up to 3 times. Once these stacks are maxed, every time a team member inflicts a negative status, they will gain 24% all attribute damage bonus for 15 seconds. Another 5-star option is Lupa's Broadblade. It provides 48% crit damage, and its passive is also useful for CHISA because it offers a Liberation damage boost. Or you can simply use the standard banner Broadblade. Not only does it give CHISA energy regen, it also provides a Liberation damage bonus whenever she uses her Resonance skill. Now we are talking about team compositions. It's already quite clear what direction CHISA's team will take. She naturally fills with characters who can inflict negative statuses or whose kits benefit heavily from enemies being afflicted with negative statuses. Yep, that means Zani, Phoebe, Chiakona, and Cartesia. But in my personal opinion, after rereading and analyzing her kit carefully, I think CHISA is only truly suitable for Cartesia teams, not as ideal for Zani. The reason CHISA synergizes so well with Cartesia is because of aero erosion stacks. The damage of Cartesia's ultimate, the one that splits the sea in half, increases the higher the erosion stacks on the enemy. With CHISA, whose outro skill increases the maximum capacity of the stacks, Cartesia's damage goes up even further. CHISA also offers a lot of utility, grouping, healing, debuffs, and a shield. So can CHISA outperform Aero Rover as Cartesia's support? Definitely yes. But can she outperform Shorekeeper as Zani's support? In my opinion, no. And even if she can, the difference is probably not significant. This is because the Zani team uses Phoebe as support. Thanks to Phoebe's Confession mode, Zani's Ember stacks are basically no longer a problem. They can be fully maintained and maximized, resulting in optimal damage. Because of this, CHISA's presence in Zani teams is not really necessary, even though she can make Zani's attack ignore part of the enemy's defense. Furthermore, the passive effect from CHISA's signature weapon cannot be fully utilized by Zani. To obtain the 24% all attribute damage, the character must inflict a negative status, but Zani cannot inflict negative status, right? This makes the passive almost useless in Zani teams, so I still believe the best sustain for Zani remains Shorekeeper. The same situation applies for Zani plus Spectral Rover teams. CHISA's presence only increases the max Frazzle capacity. She does not apply a Frazzle herself. So what's the benefit of CHISA's outro if Spectral MC's Frazzle application does not actually increases in quantity? If we are already having a hard time using Spectral MC as Zani support, CHISA is not going to fix that problem. So in conclusion, CHISA's team compositions are still quite limited for now. Only Cartesia gains significant benefits from her kit. That's why in the next patch, which is version 3, we will be getting Cartesia and Chiakona's banners, along with a new character in phase 1. CHISA is also an upgrade over Aero Rover and can synergize with other negative status teams, not just those relying on erosion. So it's safe to assume that she remains a future-proof, and I strongly believe she will truly shine in the upcoming patches. In fact, the developers have already updated how negative status work, which implies we will soon meet new characters who rely on these mechanics, and that's exactly where CHISA will step in as their sustain. And that wraps up all the preparations and building requirements for CHISA, starting from the materials you need, the echo sets you can farm through Nightmare Purification, and the weapons worth preparing. For all the Cartesia mains, rejoice! She's about to become even stronger thanks to CHISA's release. I hope you find this video helpful. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button for more Wuthering Waves content. Thank you so much for your time, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!